dive into the minds of the artist.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Green Room, the show that gives you a glimpse behind the scenes. Today we have on Rob Dew, who's been making music since 1996. Oh yeah, and he's done tons of things in between now and then. Hey Rob, how are you doing today?
You made me feel old there with that introduction. 96, a long time ago. Coming up on 30 years.
Long time creating. Well, let's talk about music, man.
Sure.
Can you tell us like where you started up, how everything began? Just take it from the beginning.
Yeah, when I was in middle school, me and my buddies were going to form a band, and we had our friend Steve Gray was our neighborhood really good guitar player. And so we were in middle school, and there was this older group of kids, one of which was Chris Henrich. There's a bunch of guys. They were older, and they were in the show choir, and we always thought they were awesome. Wally Butler was the bass player. I remember that. And my buddy had a drum set, and I'm like, all right, well, I'll get a bass. And then I had a bass and a keyboard, and I was kind of switching between the two. And then at some point, all that kind of died out. And then fast forward to my first year of college, I took a semester off and went skiing in Switzerland and worked on a ski resort. And I tore my ACL there. And then I came back and had to get surgery. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to really learn how to play the bass. And so I started taking lessons from a jazz bass player named Frank Marigliano out of Greensburg, Pennsylvania. And for a whole year, I just focused really hard on learning the bass, playing the bass. And I was in college at the time, so there was other people who were ready to play. And we set up jam rooms and had a rotating cast of people coming in. And I formed a band with one of my roommates and a drummer we heard down the street. We just walked in. He was jamming with some guys. We're like, hey, you need to join our band. And he's like, the other guys are looking at him like, what? And he's like, okay. And he just picked up his kit and moved it into our house. We're like, we got a jam house. We're ready to go. And that was called Erogenous Jones. And we were just like a three-piece kind of funky rock type band. We did some, Allman Brothers and some Pixies. And what else did we cover? All kind of stuff. And we never recorded an album. And then that band kind of dissolved, and I jumped in this hippie band. They were called Kind Insight, and they needed a bass player. And I kind of knew a lot of the guys from the theater program I was in, and it was a lot of those guys in it. So it was a good band, very hippie rockish. Played some festivals, made a CD, and then they kicked me out of the band for some reason. I think because they didn't think I wanted to go touring with them, which I would have done. I was about to graduate, and they were already graduated. And I think they were like, oh, he's not going to stay. So they kicked me out of the band. So I moved back down to Pennsylvania, or down to Louisiana. Then I decided to move to Austin. And actually, the studio I'm in right now, this guy, his name's Jeb Costello. He's one of the first musicians I met in Austin. And I ran into him at a taco place called Hueros. And we formed a band, and we met this amazing lead singer, and we started a band called 49 Reasons. Didn't do much more than a demo, but we were getting play on the Austin Music Network. We would go in there. It was like a mini MTV. We were playing live there. And I remember we set up for I dropped a tape off at a club. We were just looking for clubs to play during South by Southwest, which is a big music festival.
Yeah, yep. Everybody knows about South by.
And back then, it was kind of known. It was big back then. So this had to be like 99, about 99, 2000. And I gave a tape to this guy who owned the bar, and he literally called me up like 15 minutes later. It's like, is that you guys really? I said, yeah. He's like, oh, well, he goes, you play 3 nights here. I said, okay, let's do it. And we played right at the front of the club where we were facing away from the door, but like they had the windows open and people were stopping in. Like we would have a crowd watching us every time we were playing, and getting business cards, and people wanted to give us record deals and all that stuff. Nothing ever panned out. And that's when I'm like, this music business is kind of bullshit. So that band broke up. It kind of imploded. and then I formed a band with a couple guys, and we called ourselves Dave's Not Here, and we started off as a three-piece.
Yeah,
and
that's
so,
up on here. But before we get all the way there, roll back. So I thought you were from Austin. So originally, where are you from?
Yeah, so I was born in Louisiana, and I went to school for 2 years of high school at Sulphur High, and then 2 years in Penn Trafford, up in Pennsylvania. So my dad got transferred, and I had to finish up there. But then I went to college in West Virginia, WVU, which is a very cool town. It was literally about half. It was like 30,000 students and 30,000 citizens. So like when students came in, it, kind of made the town. And that's where I really learned, from woodshedding and just constant jamming and playing. And we would just, and I have tapes of these jams. We would just record. We had a really good tape deck, and we just stick a mic in the middle of the room.
So what inspired you to really start, writing and stuff? Did your dad listen to music, or where did the rock and roll become the inspiration?
Probably from my sister, in terms of like wanting to be creative. Like we were pretty creative kids, and my parents are creative and have good imaginations, but they weren't like it. Like my mom's like a painter and a writer, and my dad was a chemical engineer, but also just like kind of a weirdo. He was just into like Halloween and dressing up and always doing. He was always good about participating with it. So like we had that there, but there wasn't really like a big music push. I played band in middle school, but I didn't like. I really did not like my band director. So I was playing trombone, and I ended up quitting after 2 years because I'm like, I don't like doing this anymore. I don't like this guy. I didn't like the songs we were playing in band. I thought they sucked. And I remember we had this one where it was called Good King Wenceslas, and the trombone section got to stand up and do it was like not a solo, but we played like the main hook of the song. And people were like, yeah, it's awesome. So, I mean, I always had the music bug. And I remember when my mom tells me this story. When we got my first trombone, I literally jammed out just like jazz playing the trombone for like literally 45 minutes. I had my shirt off. I was just wearing pants, and I was playing this trombone. I just started playing it and just like feeling the music and just playing what came into my head. So that's probably that is probably where the music entered my soul. Like, oh, this is really cool. And then I kind of gravitated toward bass, probably from listening to this big Jane's Addiction fan, and Jane's Addiction Mountain Song is a really cool bass intro. And I was always like, that's cool. That's a cool instrument. And even though it wasn't as flashy as bass guitar, you listen to people like Victor Wooten or, guys that are real virtuosos.
Oh yeah.
And you're just like, okay, this instrument could do a lot more than what people are doing with it. So I kind of developed a pretty cool slap style, and, but just woodshedding. It took about a year and a half to like get where I felt, I could go play out at a bar. But, my first band, we would do a 3-hour set. So we do like an hour 20, take a break, and then do another hour 20. And we didn't have a ton of songs, so we jammed out a lot, which maybe wasn't the best, but we always had a crowd. And people seem to like what we do. We did a couple Grateful Dead
Some of the
songs.
best songs, too. I've heard bands, we've talked a lot, and they're like, oh, we were jamming alive, and boom, this song was wrote, So take us through some of the band's first releases, and take us through Dave's Not Here, and you put out, what,
Dave's Not Here, we kind of got
band?
serious. Yeah, 3 albums, but with 3 different lineups. And the first lineup was like a 3-piece, and then we added 2 singers. And I think we brought in a keyboard player to play some keys on some stuff. But it was basically me and the guitar player wrote all the songs. And he sang on half of them, and I sang on half of them. And then we had a couple singers come in and like really embellish some better parts. And we kind of went from a 3-piece to like a 3-piece with 2 singers. And then that was the first band. It was called Cracking the Dongle. And that was a small release, probably about 500 CDs made. We pressed them ourselves, sold them ourselves at shows, and then we recorded ourselves. We bought one of these. Our producer owned one of these 16-track kind of do-it-yourself, all-in-one, consoles. I think it was made by Yamaha, but I'm not sure. It might have been Alesis. And we just recorded, and we were dumping stuff down so we could make more tracks. And I don't even know if you could find that. This is before getting online was big, and so that CD had its life. And then we did one called We Likes to Party, and we got my brother, who used to be the band booker, to start singing, and he was like a really good front man. And then we still kept our female singer, but then we started dressing up like superheroes. But we were kind of like really fucked up superheroes, so it was pretty wild. I mean, we got pretty out there, and people seemed to like it. But we tend to like gravitate towards metal clubs, even though we weren't really a metal band, but we were high energy and we could hang with metal bands. So a metal band would be like, all right, you guys can hang,
right?
And so then we did an album called We Likes to Party. And then right about that time, we were working on a movie as well that never got finished. But it was a movie about the band, and we were just gonna have all this stuff. And then me and the singer, well, I think it was on him mostly. He suddenly didn't want to be in the band anymore, even though he helped found the band. And so he left and took like half the band with him. And then so me and my brother were like, all right, well, we'll reform it. And we got a drummer, and then we got this guitar player named Adam Shedd. And this kid at the time, this was the early 2000s, he was like 21, but literally a cross between Joe Satriani and Eddie Van Halen. Like, I shit you not, this kid could fucking play. Best player I've ever heard. I haven't heard a guitar player that could play as many styles as fluidly as this kid could. Just at a drop of a hat. Oh, play Texas Swing. Plays Texas Swing. Play some funk. Plays funk. Play progressive rock. Give me a mean solo. Give you 5 mean solos. I mean, he was incredible. And he actually, right when he joined the band, he was in this Guitar Center World's Greatest Guitar, whatever. And he made it all the way to the finals of Texas. And he ended up losing, probably because we were partying the night before and he wasn't quite in the best of abilities at that point. Which was kind of
send him in the best shape.
Well, everybody has a fault. His was drinking, and just kind of, I don't even know what he's doing now. Last I heard, he was playing bass in a country band, which I'm like, that's a total waste. But we did our third album, Cracking the Dongle, or the Ultimate Album. It's called the Ultimate Album. So we had Cracking the Dongle, We Likes to Party, and the Ultimate Album. And the Ultimate Album was probably, production-wise, the best. We had a guy named Rob Hinton who came out of California, and he had like done live stuff, and he had also done some studio stuff for like later Michael Jackson recordings, and he recorded all kinds of people, a lot of like new metal acts and stuff. So he was all into our guitar sound, and he did a great job of making the guitar sound good. But when it came to like, hey, here's my slap bass, he kind of be like, oh, that doesn't need to be so loud in the mix. I'm like, no, it needs to be the head thing in the mix when I'm slapping on this part right here. So we had back and forth on those. But he's a good guy. And, I thought he made a great album overall with a lot of different styles. And the Ultimate Album is one of my favorites.
A glimpse behind the scene. The Green Room.
About to upload your first song? Make sure you visit distrokid.com.
The Green Room. A dive into the minds of the artist.
So,
yeah.
do you prefer to be on stage or in studio? I mean, I know you're in
No.
studio all the time now. So when it comes to music,
I mean, I like stage playing for people, but now I don't have as much time to get a band in stage shape, if that makes any sense. You know, because I
absolutely.
got four kids. I'm working for Alex Jones. I'm busy. I mean, we were supposed to do this at 9. I was still at the office cutting video at 9.
I mean, like 4 years of news just came out in 4 days, so I imagine.
Pretty much, yeah. It's been crazy. I've probably not worked as long and edited as many videos as I have, but also these videos are getting sick views, man.
Yeah,
They're putting them up on his channel, like 20 million views, and 65 million views. You're like, why that? Who is that? How are they getting 65 million views?
I'm amazed. Yeah, I think the really, one a week ago got 100 million views.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
I don't understand how it happens. I know their algorithm's a little more easy. X's algorithm than YouTube, but still, we were doing YouTube videos. I remember Alex called me up and said, "Look, you need to do this video just like I tell you to." And because he had Mike Adams on that day, and we had a guy call in who was running around at Katrina, and he said at night, at the daytime, we were just kind of like, shoring things up. But at night, we would literally go on gun. They went on gun confiscation runs, and they were just confiscating people's guns.
Wow!
Like wholesale. And he's like, if you don't think it can happen, it can happen, and it did happen. And so yeah.
No, go ahead.
So I put that video together, and like literally the next day it had 125,000 views, like boom, the next day. And then I think it had 19 million by the time we got our channel shut off. But it was it was the highest viewed video on our platform. What on that YouTube channel, which was crazy. But it was, his guy, Alex threw it like, if you do it just like this, and then like that weekend, what was it? John B. Wells, Coast to Coast, called me up and said, "We want you on the show." I did 3 hours on Coast to Coast that weekend.
Wow.
And talked about everything, all kind of stuff. It was just about the video and what was going on in the gun confiscation, and then a bunch of other things. I was supposed to be on for an hour, and he's like, "You want to do another hour?" I'm like, "Sure." And then, 3 a.m. rolls around. "You want to do another hour?" All right, fine. We're already here. Let's do it.
Right.
That's kind of how I am. I would play music every day, but you just can't. It's really hard. Although I think it's easier now for a band to make something happen. Like, you don't have to come up with a whole CD and market it and come up with these songs and produce it and then take it out and sell it. You could come up with like one song, a 30-second song, and put it on some platform and build your audience that way. So it's really, I think, easier to build an audience, but at the same time, there's also a lot more people doing that, so it gets harder, But it's easier for you to get started.
Yeah, it's easy to get started. It's definitely, you don't have to have all this money and go to the studio and all that stuff. But I don't know, like the Raytons or Raytones. I think it's the Raytons, but they topped, I want to say, not Billboard, but the UK charts. They topped Taylor Swift and all that. They're beating them out, and that's a rock band. But you see, I see the same little dilemma going on with information there. It's like rock and roll. Dan Bongino said something one time that I found to be interesting, and he said the other side doesn't like anything that's unpredictable. And then you think about rock and roll and people throwing TVs out windows and partying and having a little bit of fun, but you can't really get them to join any club. They're kind of wherever they want to be, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's pretty unpredictable. So but I imagine Taylor Swift is pretty predictable. So you open for Double Trouble. That's legendary right there.
Yeah, that was probably the best. There's this, during this guitar contest thing, we met this DJ named Wendy Miller, and she was DJ like noon to 4 or something at the biggest rock station in Houston, Texas. And she really liked our band. And she came to a couple of our gigs, and she was like, "You guys are great." She goes, "Would y'all want to write my theme song?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I came up with, like, literally the next day, I came up with this bass riff, and then I showed it to the guitar player, and he kind of wrote the rest of it. And off of what I wrote, then my brother wrote the lyrics. I sent it to her. She's like, holy shit, this is awesome. We recorded it. I think we sent her a rough version, and then we recorded a better version to send to her. And it played every day at noon for the start of her show. And it was called Queen of the Midday World. And then we made a longer version with more verses for the album that had a good solo in it and all this other stuff. Like the solos on that album are just sick. And I think you can find it if you look up Dave's Not Here Ultimate Album. It's got my first son on the front cover, and he's wearing this like Chinese outfit. We put a Fu Manchu mustache on him, and with like a piece of makeup, he's writing Dave's Not Here on the wall, like what kids do. They get a marker or something and they start writing. So, but it's I think it's like track 10 on there, and but that came out really good. And so I think she got us the gig. She's like, hey, I want to start booking you guys around. You care if I book? I don't care. So like she calls me, hey, do you want to do 4th of July opening for Double Trouble? I'm like, fuck yeah. And she goes, it's in Galveston. So literally we drove.
So hold on, pause real quick.
Yeah,
For everybody in the audience that doesn't know who Double Trouble is, that's Stevie Ray Vaughan's the band that backed him for.
So Tommy Shannon, I think Chris Layton was the drummer, and then they had a guitar player with them for playing as Double Trouble. But they still got to live and eat and do things, so they were playing as Double Trouble, which I thought that was cool. Well, what I thought was really nice, I met Tommy Shannon. They had their tour bus right there, and there was I don't even know if there's a guy standing in front. I think I just walked up to the bus and knocked on the door, and he was like sitting there where the bus driver normally sits. And we sat and talked for 30 minutes, just like talking about music. Really cool guy, really chill guy. Like he was very calming listening to him talk. And I don't know if we had gone on yet, or I think we were about to go on, because there was about 4 or 5 bands, and then we played, and then Double Trouble played after us. And I didn't get to see him afterwards. I don't know if he caught the show or not, or how we did, but we had custom made. We had red, white, and blue T-shirts with our band logo on them, and I thought we played pretty good, but it was super freaking hot. Like we were roasting out there, but it's just the way it goes.
Yeah,
and you just got to play. You got to play those gigs, and we've had gigs under all conditions.
I tell people, I'm like, when you get out there, because they're like, man, you get to do what you love to do, and I'm like, absolutely. But when you get out there, it's like you're on your race car. You're out there on the track.
Yeah.
Like,
once you start sweating, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Especially once you start sweating, it's like you're gonna sweat. Okay, let's sweat.
Yeah. And you're paying attention to the drummer, and the drummer's paying attention to you, and that's echoing off the guitar. It's all working together. It's like such a feeling, and when you're playing live, for sure.
Yeah, and I tell you what, like Houston, we had a better following in Houston than we did in Austin. Like we would get people to come to our Austin shows, but when we go to Houston, it was like packed, like because the word got out quick, and we played like 3 or 4 venues there. And man, we had fans. We were going to house parties afterward. We were hanging out at people's houses. We met this husband and wife, and they had 2 kids. And like I think she invited us over to the house, and her husband was out somewhere else. And literally, we're all partying at the house. Suddenly, he shows up. He's like, "What the fuck's going on? You guys get the fuck out of my house!" It got pretty tense. And we're like, "Oh shit!" We didn't know if we were going to have to fight this guy or not. But then, literally, the next gig, he comes to the show, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, guys. You guys are awesome. I didn't know who you were." And then, like from then on, we were like at their house every night after the show, like hanging out, and partying. And they like literally lived in the suburbs.
This is Houston.
This is in Houston. Yeah, Woodlands, actually, northern Houston. But we would, we had shows all around there, and we were playing. We were getting good gigs. We played one where it was like, we didn't realize it was like it was a metal show. And we're like, man, we better come out with something good, or these guys are going to, gut us, live on stage.
Right. Yeah.
And so we sent the guitar player out and said, do Eruption. And he did Eruption, and everybody was flipping out because nobody could just really pull off Eruption.
Yeah.
People could kind of do it. He did it note for note, kicking ass on it, and totally destroyed. Yeah, and then we came on and did. I think we came out. We Likes to Party, did a great version of that. And then we made friends with those guys, all the metalheads, and but Houston was a lot cooler. Maybe probably because it has more people, but also I think they were more open to different types of music, and we kind of couldn't be pigeonholed. We didn't play blues. We didn't really play country, but we would play a blues and a country song, but it didn't sound like a blues and country song. It sounded like what we were playing, which is
right.
kind of different, so, but, yeah. And I don't know if you ever saw, did you see the Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself song?
Well, I was going to get into that. I was going to say,
Okay.
At what point did you become interested in film and
I've always been
working for InfoWars and everything? But yeah, take us through it.
Yeah, I got a theater degree because they didn't have a film department at the school at WVU, and I didn't want to change schools again because I'd already changed once. And I'm like, well, I'll just learn theater and I'll transfer it over to film. And then when I moved to Austin, that's kind of what I bought a camera and a computer and just started doing projects. And then I got a job at a semiconductor company. I was already there. And then their video guy quit. And I'm like, oh, I know how to shoot and edit video. And I started shooting and editing their video. And then from there, I took a couple years off, was like doing different projects, working freelance. And then I got a job at a home shopping network thing where they sold jewelry and stuff. And I was a producer there and did that. And then like literally in 2000, I wanted to quit that job, but I didn't want to quit till I had another job. I saw a Craigslist ad and ended up being for InfoWars. And I went and did the interview and was showing the guy who was interviewing me all the videos I had done and how I got them funded and all that. And Alex would come in at the break, and I think he came in, talked, he left, he came back in for another break, and I was showing him all the DVDs. And I was telling him how I got one funded. We got the band wanted a music video. And I said, well, they couldn't pay us the money I wanted. I said, well, why don't we go to different businesses and ask them to kick in the money, and then we'll shoot it in the different locations. And then he's like, hey, now the island of South Padre Island wants to make this their featured song, and they'll buy 500,000 DVDs. I said, okay, good. Let's go to a bunch of different businesses. We'll shoot a bunch of ads for them. I said, we'll use your music in the ads, like all your different instrumentals, and we'll blow it up. So I think we ended up, getting like $50,000 to make this whole thing. And went and did it. And it was a success. And I was telling Alex, like, how we funded it. And he's got a piece of barbecue. And I don't know if it was a piece of sausage or brisket, but he's sitting there eating it. And he goes, this is the kind of thinking we need around here. And he walks out, and the guy, Mike, looks at me and goes, I guess you got the job.
Oh my God.
Like, literally, that's how it happened. And and I just started, working for Alex. And back then it was a smaller operation.
What year is that?
That was February 9th, 2009. I'm coming up on my 17th year.
Wow. So you were back with all the old stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that
we
I first heard about, not to talk about, but yeah, I used to get some films through torrenting or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was a teenager. Yeah. And I kept on trying to it happened.
Do you believe the government would kill people?
Yeah, it would happen.
Dad, look at this, Dad. The government's killing people.
Yeah, and my dad would be like, no.
Government doesn't kill people, son.
Yeah. My dad's like hardcore, awesome dude, but at the time he was like,
it's kind of hard to believe.
Yeah.
People,
but
and likes to kill people.
Right. It is wild. I mean, and honestly, I don't know anymore because it's like just second nature at this point. And then you go back and it's always kind of been like this. It just was good for I don't even know, but we'll get there. So we went through your schooling. What's some of the best memories you've made with InfoWars? You're talking about the Jeffrey Epstein.
Man, I think some of the coolest stuff was going to those 3 events that they had right after the 2020 election. And we went to a bunch of events. We were flying everywhere, just like showing up, and then like, boom, we're out, and then we're showing up somewhere else. We were in Georgia, and we were in Phoenix, Arizona, and then we'd show up in DC, and we're just going around just trying to get people to like, let's look at this election fraud that I know happened.
Right.
And
I mean,
And it's the January 6th sucked, but the first two, one was just like this rally in November, like right after the election. That was awesome. And then the next thing was the March for Life, which they kind of had another, in December of that year. And then in January is when Jan 6 happened, and that was like, oh shit, we walked into.
So we're coming up on a break, but with you being there at InfoWars, and I mean, Alex seems pretty. Do you guys try to be the rock and roll news network? Because I mean, when we were setting up Soundwave, we looked at the Blaze, we looked at everybody who was doing any media. We were like, let's look at everybody. Even I'm not saying we like or don't like any. We got people on the crew that love everything, but whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think we were trying to be rock and roll. It just is, because I'll tell you this, like, we don't get. We don't get mainstream, even alternative mainstream. We don't get as much love, and we didn't for a while. Now it's kind of changing. People are like, "Oh, Alex Jones isn't the pariah. We can talk to him and have him on our shows." So, but it carried its own. Like, we were our own thing. There were all these other things out there, but InfoWars was this big thing that. People had to kind of recognize, even though they wouldn't necessarily want to.
Well, I mean, Alex will come into like Metallica, singing the words and everything. Who else is doing that?
I tell you what, people should take. No one's ever done this, and I started to, and I never have. But when he sings these songs coming in, do like Alex Jones sings the hits, get it on 8-track vinyl, and just have like singing Mother and
Oh man. That would be great.
Metallica, all those different songs that he sings when he's coming into break. The Doors, he loves singing the Doors. And watch him, and then you go and watch him, vamp in jazz, and he's always and he that's the thing. His show, even though they plan it a little bit, like he has videos he wants to play. Half the time he doesn't play half of the videos that he gets, and so he won't play. And then he has like all these other videos that happen during the show. So it's live and it's unfiltered and there's no teleprompter and we're just like going. But I tell you what, that system has made everybody there a super badass. The crew, the other hosts are just like, nobody could touch us, I don't think, because we could just do whatever the hell we want whenever we want. You need to talk for 30 minutes, we'll talk for 45,
Right.
It's just how it is.
It's real. And we look to that as building a network. We're trying to build multiple shows and do basically make it possible for people to be heard with rock music and not be just pushed to the side. But we're coming up on a break. This is the Green Room. We got Rob Dew on. Hope everybody's enjoying this. I know we are. We'll be back. All right.
If you're an artist about to upload your first song, make sure you visit distrokid.com.
A glimpse behind the scene. The Green Room.
So we're back with Rob Dew here at the Green Room. Let's go. Last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Jump in here. All right. So you're now rocking with Betsy Dewey. Talk about the new band and take us through that.
Okay. Well, so Betsy's a singer-songwriter, and I started playing with her a couple years ago. Jeb actually played with us for a few times, jamming out, and it was cool working on. Maybe you want to jump in here.
Give us a little something.
Start talking.
Give
Jeff
us a
might
little
want to talk.
something. Yeah.
Give us a little, Jeff. They said give us a little. Give them a little.
Heck yeah. So, where would you be without music, Rob Do?
Oh, where would I be? I would have a lot less shit around my house that I don't use enough of, and I guess where would I be? But I don't think I would have the fulfillment, because I think what's cool about recording music and going back and listening to it is the feelings you get when you were recording it. Like, you go back and listen to something you recorded like 10 years ago.
It doesn't matter what you did as long as the vibe in the room is great.
Exactly. But that's my point. You go back when you get that take that you recorded and you like, and you're like, oh man, and you think about all the things that were going on at that time, and it's sort of like a little time travel.
Enough bands that you know when it feels right.
Yeah, I'm kind of into time travel. I'm a big fan of time travel.
And let us know who else we're talking to right here.
This is Jeb Costello. Remember the guy I said I first met when I came to Austin? I met him at Waro's Bar. This is Jeb Costello. We built this. Well, he built the studio. I just added some gear and my opinions. But you can see the little studio. We got a kid and
so y'all are about to cut
here.
into some rehearsals and some recording and everything
I
after this.
think we're gonna record.
We can close
he's
this
getting
out.
antsy. He's getting antsy.
Yeah, I hear that.
But hey, man, it's all good.
So
I can hear you.
When's are you guys got new music coming, and do you have new gigs coming?
Jeb wrote a really good riff, which he's kind of playing a version of it now, and which I'll send you when it's done. But we had a good. Don't get too loud. Don't get too loud. And we can play, but just don't get too loud. And then we had a drummer and me, and we did it live. And then he's written some lyrics to it, and so we're gonna work on probably me playing bass on another tune and him working on the vocals on that tune. Because I'm going to produce the lyrics.
It's going to be my first Mailbox Money song.
Yeah, he says it's going to be his first Mailbox Money song. So he could be right. You don't know. No one can predict the future. All you can do is control your own intentions and your thoughts and your actions. That's what you should control. And, I would say making music is probably one of the coolest things I've ever done. But it's also, I don't know the kind of person I'd be if I wasn't playing music. And
be a fucking asshole.
Maybe. Jeb said I'd be an asshole.
I think Punch Drunk Villains should be a band.
Yeah, he wants to name his band Punch Drunk Villains. But we played this. Now this is a good story. This is a good music story. So hold on. I used to live in South Austin.
Does he think it's a good band name?
Hold on. No, stop. I used to live in South Austin, and we got to wrap this up. I got 5 minutes. And the guy across the street was an air conditioning repairman, but he also was a really good singer and guitar player and songwriter. A very talented songwriter. Anyway, him and Jeb used to be in a band a long time ago, but I didn't know that at the time. I knew about Roy, and then I moved in, and there was Roy across the street. It was that Roy. And I ended up playing with his band for a while. Fun fact, I did jam a couple times. There's a guy who flew his plane into an IRS building in, I think, 2010 or 2011. Joe Stack was his name. I played in a band with that guy, and there's an old episode of Alex Jones. Like, I talk about it that day. So if somebody wants to find it in the archives, whatever date that was, and that would be the date of the show, because it happened. I'm literally going around shooting video. Timothy Geithner shows up, and we're filming him, and they're having a press conference, and there's the smoldering building. And they keep saying Joseph Stack. And I knew him as Joe Stack. And then somebody said Joe Stack. I'm like, wait, I know Joe Stack. And I went and looked, and I'm like, holy shit. And I literally go into the studio during a break. I go, Alex, I played in a band with that guy. Like, but to this day, it weirds me out. He did not seem like that type of person. So.
That's wild. That is wild.
Super wild.
We got to have you back on and talk about more stuff. This is fun. So where can people follow you and what you're doing?
Follow me on X at Dews News, DEWSNEWZ. That's where I'm mostly at, and you can search for my stuff on. If you ask me or get on there and DM me or something, or send me a thing, and I'll try to find stuff. I haven't really put my stuff online, music wise. Jeffrey Epstein Didn't Kill Himself. You can find on Band.video, and it's also the pin song on my the pin tweet on my X account. So you can get, and that happened in like literally I wrote the song like sometime Thursday going into Friday. Rehearsed it on a Friday night at Adon's house. He's the drummer. I'm like, I got this song. And we showed up at his house and we crammed in this room. And then I'm like, I can't sing. And so Derek showed up and I said, you're playing my bass. And he played my bass. And then John Bound played guitar. John Bound's playing the guitar player on there. And I mean, it's a InfoWars All-Star, baby. And then we recorded it on a Sunday. So rehearsed it Friday, recorded it Sunday, shot the video Sunday night, and boom, 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 boom. It just all went through. So
yeah, that's incredible.
That's how it happens. When it's supposed to happen, that's how it's supposed to happen. That is
right.
Anyway, hey man, it was great being on.
Yes.
We're gonna jam. We're gonna jam it out and have a good one. But it was a lot of fun. Appreciate the offer to talk, and yeah, I'll come back and we can.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Have a good one. I'm taking off.
All right.
Arrivederci.
All right, everybody. That was our experience talking to Rob Dew. Thank you for watching The Green Room.
The Green Room, a dive into the minds of the artist.
Same, but my big old good and fat ass are my only claims to fame. You fall, I'm in a rage. You fall, when mine say you fall, I'm in a rage. I gotta keep myself up in off this stage. You fall, I'm in a rage. You fall, when mine say you fall, I'm in a rage. I gotta keep myself. All day long I'm sitting at my desk. No time for play and no time for rest. My next cube of a name is Celeste. I try to look her in the eye, but I won't even see her chest. You fall, I'm in a rage. You fall, in mine saying you fall, I'm in a rage. I gotta keep myself out in every space. You fall, I'm in a rage. You fall, in mine saying you fall, I'm in a rage. I gotta keep myself.
Sounds like somebody's got a piece of the moon boots.
Bills, bills, bills. Oh yeah, that's why I'm here. I'm working for that man with sweat stains in my shirt. At least I know what I'm doing here. Well, I got you for, yeah, yeah. You for, I'm in a rage. You for, in my saying you for.
Check it out, mad simple. After you're set up with your account, all you're gonna do is go up and hit the upload button. After you hit upload, it's going to give you a list of all the places your song will be distributed. You can release a single, you can release an album. You're gonna go ahead and pick your release date, type in the record label. If you're not signed or you don't have your own independent label, you can write whatever in that box. Drop and drag your cover art, pick your language and your genre, and you're pretty much done. If you're an artist about to upload your first song, make sure you visit distrokid.com.